Had you ever walked away from a conversation feeling physically smaller, like your energy was literally siphoned out? It is a heavy sensation, as if an invisible energy siphon is attached directly to your chest. These encounters with toxic people leave you feeling completely exhausted and strangely diminished in your own skin. You might wonder why they seem to grow bigger while you shrink during every single interaction. It feels like you are being hunted by hungry monsters who thrive on your emotional reactions and stress. These toxic individuals possess a unique ability to make others feel terrible and utterly drained of life. They feed on your frustration, turning your peaceful day into a battleground for your very own sanity. Every word they speak acts like a hook, pulling at your confidence until you feel entirely depleted. Dealing with them is like trying to hold water in a bucket that is riddled with holes. Your emotional energy flows out of you, leaving you empty while they stand tall and fully energized. This constant energy drain makes it nearly impossible to focus on what truly matters in your life. You deserve to protect your peace from those who only wish to consume your vibrant internal light. But what if I told you that you have a secret valve to shut that drain off? Today we are flipping the script and reclaiming the power they have stolen from you for years. Imagine a world where you could win the game without even playing their manipulative and tiring games. There are 7 simple tricks that can fundamentally change how these people treat you every single day. These psychological strategies act as a power move, forcing toxic individuals to either change or simply leave. By setting firm boundaries, you can stop the siphon and keep your precious internal energy for yourself. It is time to treat your energy like a time treasure that no one else is allowed to steal. Creating space between you and their negativity is the first step toward regaining your lost personal strength. You no longer have to be a victim to their whims or their sudden outbursts of emotional chaos. We're going to explore how these 7 tactics will neutralize even the most difficult people you know. You will learn to stop feeding the hungry monsters and start standing in your own unshakable power. Get ready to transform your social dynamics and finally take back the control you have always deserved. Let us dive into these 7 life-changing tricks and stop the energy drain once and for all. We often think toxic people are attacking our logic, but they are not. Instead, they are hunting for something much more primitive hidden deep within you. To stop them, you first have to understand exactly what they really are. Think of these individuals as hungry monsters who rely on you for survival. These hungry monsters do not want your logic or your reasonable explanations. They are searching for the raw energy of your most intense emotional reactions. Every time you get upset, you are providing the very fuel they crave. Your anger and frustration act like a feast for someone looking to control you. Have you ever noticed how their mood suddenly lifts when they make you cry? When you break down, these toxic people finally feel powerful and truly big. They thrive on the sight of your tears because it confirms their absolute dominance. In their eyes, you are not a person, but merely a source of fuel. This explains why they constantly push your buttons to trigger a visible response. They grow stronger as they watch you struggle to maintain your emotional composure. Like a predator, they wait for the moment you lose control of your feelings. This is the secret behind that energy drain we discussed in the previous section. They are literally consuming your peace to build up their own sense of superiority. Without your reaction, these monsters would have nothing left to sustain their ego. Understanding this power dynamic is the first step toward taking your life back. And if they are hungry, the only way to beat them is to start a famine. Have you ever wondered why these hungry monsters always seem to push your specific buttons? It isn't an accident that they target your most sensitive emotional reactions during every single conflict. To understand the energy drain, we must look at what actually fuels these toxic people. They act like hungry monsters, constantly searching for a specific type of nourishment to survive. Your peace is a threat, but your visible distress is a feast for their ego. They don't want a logical solution. They want to consume the raw energy of your upset. Every tear you shed serves as a high-calorie meal for their desperate need for control. When you get angry, you are unknowingly handing over the very fuel they crave to grow. There is a twisted, direct proportion between your level of pain and their sense of self. As you feel smaller and more depleted, the toxic person begins to feel incredibly big. This sense of bigness is a temporary high they get from seeing you lose your cool. To them, your emotional reaction is a power move that confirms they are in total charge. They thrive on the chaos they create because it makes them feel significant and dominant. If they can make you cry, they feel like they have won a secret war. Your visible anger acts as a mirror, reflecting the power they believe they hold over you. Without your reaction, the hungry monster is left standing in a cold and empty room. They rely on your emotional responses to validate their own warped sense of personal importance. Your frustration is the currency they use to buy a false feeling of superiority and strength. This is why they keep coming back to the same wounds, hoping for a fresh reaction. Understanding this dynamic is your first real step toward reclaiming your stolen energy and power. Counting silently to 3 before you speak creates a powerful weapon out of the resulting silence. Here is the first trick to starve the beast and protect your precious energy from theft. Ask yourself what happens when a bully receives absolutely no response to their hurtful words. You are about to master the art of creating space before you ever let them speak. This simple pause becomes a power move that shifts the control back into your hands. When someone hurls a mean comment your way, do not rush to defend your honor. Instead, start a silent countdown in your head for 3 long, intentional seconds. Those 3 seconds are your time treasure, a boundary they can no longer cross. While you count, you are building a wall between their toxicity and your inner peace. You are refusing to give them the immediate emotional reaction they so desperately crave. This gap allows you to stay calm while the hungry monster waits for a fight. By the time you reach 3, the initial sting of their words has already faded. Now you must deliver a response that is the opposite of the explosive reaction they expect. You must become the gray rock, someone so dull and unremarkable the monster walks past. Use flat and boring phrases that offer no emotional hooks for them to grab onto. Try responding with a simple, detached okay next time they try to provoke you. You could also use a casual cool to signal that their words have no impact. If they persist, a calm, if you say so, serves as an impenetrable verbal shield. Your voice must remain entirely flat, devoid of any anger, frustration, or visible hurt. When you drain the emotion from your voice, you effectively starve the reaction monster. Can you handle being the most boring person in the room for your own protection? To the toxic person, your lack of heat is like water on a dying fire. Without the fuel of your energy, their toxic behavior has nowhere else to go. They are looking for a fun reaction, but they are only finding a dead end. This is how you reclaim your power move by choosing boredom over a heated conflict. Eventually, the toxic person will stop their behavior because you are no longer an easy target. They will move on to someone else who still provides the high they are seeking. You have successfully protected your time and energy by simply refusing to play their game. Remember that your silence and your boredom are the most potent weapons in your arsenal. When you become boring to them, you finally gain the freedom to be yourself again. But it is not just your energy they want, it is your most valuable asset of all. Money can be earned back, but time? Once it is gone forever. Think of your time as a vault filled with gold bars that can never be replenished. While wealth can fluctuate, every second you lose is a piece of your life disappearing. So why do we let others walk into our vault and take whatever they please? Toxic people often wait until you are at your busiest to drop a manufactured emergency. Suddenly, their lack of planning becomes your crisis, pulling you away from what actually matters. Why is their sudden emergency your responsibility when you have your own life to lead? They do not just want your help. They want to control the flow of your day. It is a subtle power move designed to see if you will drop everything for them. To stop the energy drain, you must start treating your schedule like a sacred treasure. The most effective response to these demands is a simple, unexplained "I cannot right now." You do not need a long list of excuses or a detailed reason for your refusal. Setting firm boundaries means knowing that no is a complete sentence that requires no apology. By refusing to explain yourself, you are creating space for your own priorities and peace. Explaining gives them a chance to argue with your logic or guilt trip your current situation. Keeping it brief is a power move that signals your time is not up for negotiation. Remember that real friends will always respect your time and value your personal space. A healthy person understands when you are busy and will not demand your immediate attention. Unlike the hungry monsters we discussed earlier, true companions do not feast on your stress. Your life is not a free-for-all, and you are not a 24-hour service station. Reclaiming your schedule is the first step toward living a life defined by your own choices. Is your time currently treated like a priceless treasure or an open door for everyone? But how do you reclaim that time without starting an all-out war with them? What happens when the hungry reaction monster realizes your emotional buffet is officially closed for business? You do not just tell these people to stop. You must actively teach them to stop. A toxic person's brain actually learns to repeat bad treatment when they face no real consequences. Without a shift in your response, they assume their behavior is acceptable and continue the drain. This is where you implement the power move of creating space as a tangible, effective boundary. Think of your attention as a subscription service that gets canceled when the user breaks terms. You must remember that your consistent actions always teach people much better than your words can. Creating space might mean choosing to answer their urgent texts several hours later than you usually do. It could also mean simply being too busy to hang out or help with their latest crisis. Pulling back your presence shows them that bad behavior now carries a very real and personal cost. That cost is losing the privilege of your time and the energy they so desperately crave. When you stop being instantly available, you reclaim the power you once handed over so freely. Why should you answer in 3 seconds when they treat you poorly for 3 long hours? Can they afford the price of your presence if they refuse to treat you with simple dignity? You are finally installing a firm paywall between your peace of mind and their toxic demands. This shift is not about being cruel. It is about protecting your most valuable personal assets. By delaying your communication, you signal that your energy is no longer a free-for-all resource. If they cannot afford the price of your presence, they no longer get to participate. Let the silence do the heavy lifting while you focus on your own well-being and growth. Space is an active choice you make, not a passive event that just happens to you. You are training them to understand that access to you is earned through respect and kindness. Every time you delay a reply, you are casting a vote for your own mental health. This strategy forces the toxic person to feel the weight of their own negative actions. They will notice the change, and that discomfort is where the lesson begins to sink in. Reclaiming your boundaries through space is the ultimate way to neutralize the energy siphon for good. They might try to guilt you or paint themselves as the victim to regain control. Stay firm in your decision, knowing that silence is a language they will eventually understand. Every moment you reclaim for yourself is a victory against the drain of toxic influence. When the monster finds the gate locked, it will eventually look for a meal elsewhere. But beware. When you pull back, they might try to use your own fear against you. Most people stay trapped in toxic cycles simply because they are terrified of the next explosive argument. Who is really in control if you are the one constantly walking on eggshells every single day? This realization is the ultimate trick that finally separates the prey from the truly powerful individuals. As long as you fear making toxic people angry, they maintain complete and total control over you. The fear of a fight is the invisible leash they use to keep you perfectly in line. These hungry monsters intentionally use the fear of conflict to force a yes when you mean no. They rely on your discomfort to bypass your boundaries and claim your precious time and energy treasures. Every time you cave to avoid a scene, you reinforce their power over your emotional well-being. It is time to examine why the prospect of their anger feels like such a heavy burden. Remember that truly good people will respect your refusal, while toxic people only seek to punish it. If they get angry because you said no, were they ever actually your friend to begin with? Stopping the energy drain requires you to accept that their reaction is not your personal responsibility. Healthy boundaries act as a filter, revealing who values you and who simply wants to use you. Choosing to stand your ground despite the looming shadow of a fight is the ultimate power move. The initial explosion of their anger is often just a desperate attempt to regain lost dominance. When you stop feeding the hungry monsters with your compliance, they eventually lose their grip on you. Take a deep breath and realize that their disappointment is a price worth paying for freedom. Notice how the right people in your life never make you feel guilty for protecting your peace. Practice saying no to small things first to build the muscles needed for bigger boundary battles. If your presence requires you to sacrifice your self-respect, then that environment is truly costing you too much. Reclaiming your time treasure starts with the courage to let others be temporarily unhappy with your choices. Your boundaries are the fortress that protects your spirit from those who only wish to consume it. Stand tall in your truth and watch as the monsters retreat when they realize their tactics fail. Once you stop fearing the fire of their rage, they can no longer burn or manipulate you. Stop acting like you are in trouble every time someone questions your personal life choices. The more you explain yourself, the more you sound like a suspect in an interrogation room. Why are you still asking for permission to live your life on your own terms? Over-explaining is like handing a toxic person the scissors to cut your own argument apart. When you provide endless justifications, you signal to the hungry reaction monsters that you are weak. They thrive on your desperate need to be understood, turning your logic into a new weapon. Every extra sentence you offer is another piece of your energy they can easily siphon away. Think about it. Does a powerful leader explain themselves, or do they simply lead the way? You must realize that your boundaries do not require a detailed map or a legal defense. Defending yourself actually gives others the power to judge whether your reasons are valid or not. Break the cycle of the emotional buffet by refusing to serve up your private motivations today. Instead of a frantic defense, try a power move that instantly shifts the dynamic of the conversation. When they push you to justify your choices, reach for a short and final response instead. Master the art of the boring response by keeping your explanations brief and incredibly firm. There's a specific phrase that ends the interrogation and reclaims your lost authority immediately. When someone demands to know why you made a choice, look them in the eye calmly. Simply tell them those 5 transformative words, because that is what I decided. This phrase is a complete sentence that requires no further elaboration or defensive posture at all. It signals that the decision is final and that your personal agency is not up for debate. By owning your decisions this way, you protect your time treasure from being stolen by others. You are no longer a child reporting to a parent or a suspect under a spotlight. You are a person standing firm in their own reality, creating space between yourself and the noise. This shift in energy stops the reaction monster from finding a way back into your mind. Remember that saying "because you decided" is the final word and the total end of the discussion. Once you stop justifying your existence, you finally start living your life with true, quiet power. But what happens to your social world when you finally stop needing their constant validation and attention? There is a hidden superpower that most toxic people are absolutely terrified of: your own inner peace. When you are perfectly content in your own company, the hungry monsters lose their primary power source. For years, you might have believed that being alone was a weakness or a sign of failure. In reality, your solitude is a powerful filter that reveals the true intentions of everyone around you. Toxic people stay close when they know you are an easy source of the attention they crave. They thrive in environments where you feel a desperate need for their approval or presence in life. These energy siphons are attracted to those who fear the quiet or feel incomplete without external noise. If they sense you need them to feel valid, they will keep pushing your buttons for reactions. But once you find happiness in your own space, those toxic attention seekers start to fade away slowly. Without the emotional reactions they feed on, the hungry monsters quickly realize the buffet is finally closed. They are not interested in a healthy connection. They are only looking for a reliable source of energy. As you stop providing that easy fuel, you will notice the frantic noise around you begins to settle. Are you keeping them around because you like them, or because you are simply afraid of silence? When the dust settles and the chaos ends, a new kind of clarity begins to emerge naturally. This is the moment you discover who is actually there for you and who is just feeding. Real friends will notice when you have stepped back and will make a genuine effort to reach out. They do not require a performance or a constant stream of energy to maintain a meaningful bond. Instead of demanding your time, true companions respect your space and seek to add value to it. They are the ones who reach out first when they notice your absence from the usual social noise. Think of your solitude as a specialized filter that allows the pure gold to stay behind. While the gold remains, the water washes the dirt and debris away into the distant, fading past. It can feel uncomfortable at first, watching people drift away as you reclaim your personal power move. However, the peace that remains is worth more than 1,000 shallow and draining social interactions. You are no longer managing a crowd. You are cultivating a garden of intentional and respectful relationships. By mastering the art of being alone, you set a standard that toxic people simply cannot meet. You become a person who chooses their circle based on mutual respect rather than a fear of loneliness. This quiet confidence is the final step in protecting your time treasure and your emotional health. Look closely at who reaches out when the noise stops, because those are your people for life. This is how you finally find out who actually belongs in your life and who is just passing. When you stop providing an audience, the true nature of your relationships begins to surface instantly. Think of your attention as a currency that toxic people are constantly trying to spend for you. These hungry monsters stay close only as long as you remain an easy source of emotional reactions. They thrive on the energy drain created whenever you feel forced to validate their constant drama. If they sense you need them, They will linger like a shadow, feeding on your uncertainty. But the moment you start creating space, the dynamic shifts in a way you might not expect. When you stop reacting, the toxic people in your life usually perform a sudden, quiet disappearing act. Without your attention to sustain them, they simply wander off to find a more willing energy source. It feels like a power move because you are finally choosing how to spend your time treasure. Your silence acts as a natural barrier, filtering out those who are only there for the harvest. Now watch what happens to the people who truly value the person you are becoming. Real friends do not just occupy space. They actively respect your time and your personal boundaries. They do not wait for you to entertain them or provide a constant stream of emotional validation. Instead, they notice the change in your energy and reach out first to check on your well-being. When they see you are gone or quiet, they make a genuine effort to bridge the gap. This effort is the ultimate sign that they value the connection more than the attention you provide. They are not there to drain you. They are there to support the space you have created. While toxic people vanish in the silence, real friends use that quiet to speak even louder. You will quickly see who was holding your hand and who was just holding you back. Embracing this clarity is the final step in protecting your peace from the hungry monsters. This contrast reveals the difference between a parasitic connection and a life-giving mutual friendship. Your circle may get smaller, but the quality of your inner world will grow exponentially. If you have to say it for the 100th time, you aren't communicating, you're begging. Before you walk away, you owe it to yourself to do one thing just once. Your boundaries are not negotiable terms. They are the high walls protecting your internal peace. Toxic people thrive on your repeated explanations because they signal you are still seeking their permission. It is time to deliver your final statement with absolute clarity and zero emotional room for debate. Simply say, "When you do this, it hurts me," and deliver the truth without trembling. Follow that statement by clearly saying, "I need you to stop." Then let the silence speak. Saying it once establishes your power. It places the responsibility for change squarely on their shoulders. Did they truly not hear you the first time, or did they just not care? We often believe that if we just find the right words, they will finally understand. But hungry monsters don't need understanding. They need your energy and your endless, desperate explanations. Repeating yourself 100 times to a toxic person is described as a sign of weak behavior. Speaking to them like a broken record doesn't fix the song, it only ruins the player. Every time you repeat a boundary, you are teaching them that your words lack weight. Why are you giving 100 chances to someone who didn't respect your very first one? Remember our strategy of creating space. That space is earned when your words are ignored. A power move isn't a loud argument. It is the quiet refusal to explain yourself twice. Stop allowing the energy siphon to drain you through the repetitive cycle of explaining your pain. Treat your first statement as a final warning because your time treasure is far too valuable. The first time is for them, but anything after that is a complete waste of you. Do you honestly believe that explaining yourself just one more time will finally make them understand? We often fall into the trap of thinking our words just need a different arrangement to work. You tell yourself that if you find the perfect analogy, the toxic person will suddenly see reason. This search for the magical sentence is a hollow pursuit that only drains your precious energy further. You are trying to use logic on someone who is only interested in feeding their emotional hunger. Every time you rephrase your boundaries, you are unknowingly giving away your power to the hungry monster. When you explain yourself too much to toxic people, you actually start to sound incredibly weak. To the listener, your endless justifications make it seem like you are actually in serious trouble. They see your long paragraphs and frantic explanations as a sign that you are desperate for approval. Instead of clarifying your point, you are signaling that your own decisions are up for debate. Think about how a person in power speaks compared to someone who is begging for mercy. Power moves are built on brief, firm statements that do not invite a negotiation of your reality. Repeating yourself 100 times to a toxic person is not communication. It is pure weakness. This repetitive behavior proves to them that you do not trust the weight of your own words. If you say it 100 times, you are literally begging them to accept your basic boundaries. Every repetition is a tiny crack in the wall you have tried so hard to build around yourself. The hungry monster loves when you repeat yourself because it keeps the emotional buffet open for hours. They are not listening for facts. They are listening for the sound of your mounting frustration. Stop acting like a defendant in a courtroom where the other person is the judge and jury. You do not need to prove your worthiness or justify your need for space and respect. Breaking the habit of over-explaining is the ultimate power move for reclaiming your lost time treasure. When you stop repeating yourself, you force them to deal with the silence of your finality. True strength is found in the confidence to state your truth once and then simply walk away. Remember that your silence often speaks much louder than 100 frantic attempts at being understood. Let go of the need to be heard and embrace the power of being absolutely clear. This is the moment of truth when you realize if they heard you and still chose pain. You have tried every strategy and set every boundary, but now comes the ultimate choice for peace. If you have spoken clearly and they refuse to change, the script demands you finally walk away. There are no more excuses for the energy drain that continues to haunt your daily life. You gave them the map to respect you, but they chose to stay lost in their toxicity. Remember that second and third chances are often just invitations for them to hurt you again. When the hungry monster ignores your clear request, their silence is the only answer you need. Stop waiting for a miracle and start recognizing the reality of the situation right in front of you. Removing them from your life is not an act of cruelty, but a necessary act of self-preservation. You are not a rehabilitation center for people who refuse to value your time and energy treasure. Every moment you spend hoping they will change is another moment of your own life lost. Walking away is not losing the game, but realizing the game was never worth playing at all. If you find yourself begging for basic respect, you have already stayed much longer than you should. A true power move is found in the silence of your exit and the strength of your resolve. The boundary you set was the final test, and their behavior has provided the only grade possible. How much more of your precious life are you truly willing to lose for someone who ignores you? You have spoken your truth once, and now your actions must speak louder than any future words. Cutting the cord is the only way to stop the siphon from draining your future dry. Do not wait for an apology that will likely never come from a heart that refuses to see. Your peace of mind is worth more than the familiar pain of a toxic relationship. Step out of the cycle today and reclaim the energy that belongs only to you. There is a profound freedom waiting for you on the other side of this difficult decision. If they wanted to change, they would have started the moment you first shared your heart. Since they chose to stay the same, you must choose to move forward without them. Do not look back at the chaos you left behind, for your future lies in the calm. Freedom is not found in their change, but in the finality of your permanent exit. You have the tools now, but tools are useless if they simply sit in a mental drawer. I am not asking you to overhaul your entire existence tonight or change every relationship instantly. I am simply asking for 7 days of commitment to one powerful shift in your behavior. Think back to the 7 strategies we explored and choose the one that resonates most deeply. Which trick will you use first to reclaim the energy that these hungry monsters have stolen? Like a muscle, your boundaries only get stronger when you actually begin to use them daily. Perhaps you will start by counting to 3 before responding to every provocative or draining comment. Or maybe you will finally stop explaining your life choices to people who do not care. Commit to practicing your chosen power move for just 1 week to see how things shift. Imagine what your life will look like when you are no longer fueling someone else's drama. This is not about being cruel. It is about reclaiming the time treasure you have been losing. Every time you choose silence over an emotional reaction, you are winning back a piece of yourself. Do not worry about being perfect. Just focus on being consistent for the next 7 days. Creating space is a consequence of their behavior, not a punishment you should feel guilty about. Watch closely as toxic people react when their favorite energy source suddenly disappears from their view. You might feel uncomfortable at first, but that feeling is your personal power finally returning home. Focus on that single statement until it becomes your natural and default protective shield against manipulation. 1 week is all it takes to prove to yourself that you are no longer a victim. Take that first step today and watch how quickly the heavy clouds of toxicity begin breaking. Your journey toward a peaceful life begins with one choice and 7 days of firm resolve. Have you ever wondered why toxic people seem to repeat the same hurtful patterns over and over? It feels like a broken record, yet they never seem to learn from their mistakes or your tears. To stop this cycle, we must understand how a toxic person's brain actually processes their bad behavior. Their minds are wired to repeat any treatment that doesn't result in a direct, painful consequence for them. Without a shift in the environment, their brain assumes that their current behavior is perfectly acceptable and safe. You might think your explanations are helping, but your words are often drowned out by their internal noise. When you explain your hurt without changing the situation, you are unintentionally teaching them that words have no weight. The reality is that actions will always teach a toxic person far better than any conversation ever could. If you want to stop the energy drain, you must stop talking and start creating space instead. Think of your presence as a valuable time treasure that they have slowly learned to take for granted. When they act out, the most powerful move you can make is to immediately withdraw their access to you. Pulling back shows them that bad behavior has a very real and tangible cost they cannot ignore. That cost is the loss of your attention, your energy, and the emotional reaction they were hunting for. Hungry monsters thrive on your engagement, so removing yourself is the only way to starve their bad habits. Every time you set boundaries and step away, you are providing the brain with a necessary reality check. This isn't about being mean or vengeful. It is about becoming a firm teacher of your own value. You are finally setting the price for admission into your life, and that price is basic human respect. When the consequences are clear, their brain is forced to evaluate whether the conflict is worth the loss. If they want to keep the connection, they must learn that their old tactics no longer work on you. This shift in perspective turns your withdrawal into a profound lesson that they are finally required to attend. By choosing to walk away, you stop being a victim and start being the architect of your environment. Your silence becomes the boundary that protects your peace while teaching them exactly where they stand. Remember that a brain without consequences will never find a reason to change its destructive ways. Stop hoping they will listen and start ensuring they feel the weight of their own choices today.